we did anything and everything we could think of, try to keep you from going any further than you had at that point. But you really couldn't do anything.
You know, all those times that I took care of you and getting it to where you were taking care of me, that's so.
Well, I didn't take care of you. I just gave you a space to heal. If I were to run into somebody in the street that I used to get high with or deal with, I'm just like, I don't know who you're talking about. You have the wrong person. Because I'm not that person anymore. My name is Jasmine Spalding. I would describe my childhood as quite tumultuous. My mother was an addict for a great portion of my life, pretty much all of it until I was an adult. I had belt marks from the back of my kneecaps to my shoulder blades because I hadn't cleaned my room efficiently. And I intentionally put on an outfit where the teachers at school would see the marks on my legs. And so I had on like this little pleated aqua skirt. And so that was the first time that I was removed from the home. That was the first time I really felt safe because I wasn't around anybody I knew would intentionally hurt me. And so my whole bedroom now is aqua because that's my safe color. After 22 calls to child protection, because you know pastors don't beat their kids, I was finally removed from the home, but not because I was being abused. They deemed me incorrigible, which was my first instance of thinking that all those events were my fault. Incorrigible means like oppositional defiance disorder, and so that I was the problem and not the abuse. At 17, I got emancipated and moved to Indianapolis to go to Marian College, but had a full ride and blew it up, basically. I came home for the summer and I started hanging out with the wrong kind of people. And so I worked at a pizza joint and I was trying to find an apartment of my own, like an efficiency apartment, and I did, but I really didn't have reliable transportation to work. And so eventually I lost my job, and my landlord said, hey, well, we can do this for your rent. And so he wanted sexual favors in exchange for me having a place to live. And so that went on for quite some time. At that point, I had started using illicit drugs. And so my pimp, for lack of a better word, or trafficker, whatever you want to call them, was essentially the dope man. I would go 7 to 10 days without sleep. I would not remember whether or not I had eaten. I was 120 pounds soaking wet. And at this point, I didn't really even accept God, right? Like God was irrelevant where I came from. So like trafficking's not just somebody getting thrown in a van and tied in a basement. More often than not, it's coercion or manipulation or survival. I didn't even really realize at first that coercion was my story. So part of the coercion and manipulation changes the way we think, right? Because we're manipulated for so many years that we're taught that this is the way life is. They would tell us, right, that if you work in a factory, you might cut a finger off. And so getting in a car with a John, you might get beat up, and that's just how it is, or you might get raped, or that's just how it is. I just thought it was normal, right, to go do this so that I could use, because I didn't want to feel any of the pain that I had from my childhood or up into leading to that point. Towards the end, it was almost like every time I would jump in a car with a John or with someone who was trying to purchase, I would pray to die. Like I was just done with living the way that I was living. Most of those were I would run. I'm a runner, and so they'd let me out and I wouldn't show up to court, or they'd let me out and putting me on a bracelet and I would cut it off. My most permanent address was the jail for about a year and a half.
Can you lay down? Down.
Edwin,
Go. Go.
come on, buddy. Come on. You said you're not a bad mom. You're just not always here.
Yep. True statement.
No. Do you think that?
Was a true statement. Like, you disappear for sometimes, like when we were at Granning's.
Yeah.
You were always in recovery. Yeah. So I never really I never saw you go into it. You were always kind of there. But I did see you go to Hope Center, and that was a good place.
It's a temporary home for victims of human sex trafficking.
The Hope Center is providing shelter and help.
A ministry that would go to the streets and the highways and byways and bring in the less fortunate, the least of these, the broken, the bruised, the battered.
I came in at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I came from jail, and I had spent the better part of the previous 18 months in jail, in and out, in and out. And so when I first came in, it was almost like I didn't belong here, right? Because it's got all this fancy lighting, and it's just a beautiful castle, and like, who am I? Why do I belong here? You know, they took me to a room, gave me fresh clothes. I got to take a real shower and really wash my hair, because you don't really get to do those things in jail. And I laid down. I couldn't sleep just because it was so quiet, and jail is not. It's very loud. And I was scared to death.
That person that came in, boy, you were a tough one.
I was a mess.
You were there to bide your time. I don't think you thought the rules necessarily applied to you.
They didn't. I tell people now, like the girls now, I'm like, listen, you see all these rules? It's my fault. It's my fault they're in place, because my group, we broke them all. One of the rules was that we weren't allowed to take pictures on campus, and not only did I take pictures, but they were illicit. And the director asked to see my phone so she could double check it. We had agreed that you could look at my phone whenever you wanted to. And she saw the illicit pictures, and I was asked to leave. If I had been more apologetic or known that my behavior was not okay at that time, then I could have stayed. It's not easy to get put out at the Hope Center. Like, you really have to do something that is against what they feel. I was devastated when they asked me to leave. I think that when I came back the second time, something changed inside. And so I had really fully given myself to becoming somebody better. So we do prayer service every Wednesday night. I sat in that prayer center and I was just praying and praying that I could let go of this anger and this hurt. And I actually felt like it come up through my throat, like it was a physical feeling. And that's when I was like, God is real. Like, He answers prayers, and I don't have a reason to be angry anymore. I shared earlier about aqua being a safe color, and so pretty much any art project that I've done has aqua in it. And so purple also is my favorite color. So this is an ink art, and I did this pretty well into art therapy that I didn't want to do to begin with.
Being grateful for every day that we have, and the fact that this is where we are today. I mean, look at what all of us have been through. And to be here now, appreciating and celebrating and you know, still knowing that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah. But we're here today.
I think that I chose the right place to go to. I think being somewhere that focused on trafficking and recovery from that, other than just recovering from alcohol and addiction, gave me an opportunity to heal the trauma. You know, it really just coming back to Jesus, like, you know, believing that I'm still here for a reason, and then He's walked me right into my purpose. It changed everything for me, because it taught me how I have been manipulated, how I have been coerced, and it opened my eyes to actually having been trafficked. Because when I first got here, I was like, I'm not trafficked. I just work the street, right? Because I'm an addict. Trafficking doesn't have a face. And I can talk from a survivor's perspective. I can say, I know how this felt. Not only that, but that program is written so well that whether the resident be familial trafficked or coerced like I was, or even kidnapped and locked away, it's still relevant. It still helps break the cycle of trafficking and helps us to learn, not that we were stupid, but that people made us feel that way. That's always been my vision, like what positive change can this make? It's not really about being, front and center or telling my story. It's about whose life can be changed by my story. And that to me is more important than anything.